Hi again, in today's video I'm going to be going through the Graveyard mod, both for Fabric and for Forge. I'll be using the Fabric version in this video for 1.18.2. Let's begin. This mod adds in a collection of creepy mobs and creepy builds for you to find throughout your Minecraft world. There was originally a collection of biomes that also went along with it, but that's been separated into its own mod, which you can also find on the mod page. Getting into actual Minecraft here. Starting off, we've got something very small and very simple in amongst your things. You've got an altar, where it's just a collection of weird, interesting bits and pieces, some skeletons sitting around with a nice little hand poking up out here, some candles and other bits and pieces. Overall, it's just a nice, interesting little structure that you'll find throughout your world. It does make use of a lot of different vanilla blocks, also adding in its own collection of blocks as well. Another new generated structure that you might be able to find around is this giant mushroom. If we move into the building here, if we go up to the top here, it's literally just a nice big open mushroom. If you wanted to build a house inside of a mycelium biome, this is like a really good generated structure for you to do it in. As I said, it's already in the mycelium biome and it's really cool. It really stands out and it makes use of a few collection of some very interesting blocks that are vanilla, making use of the 𝓽𝓱𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼. This mod tries its best to use a lot of vanilla blocks when it comes to generating its structures. There are some new blocks that comes with this mod, as I showed off with the altar from before, but it does make use of a lot of vanilla based ones. Another structure you might find in the world is a haunted house. It's honestly a very interestingly well designed place with a collection of different things, such as a beautiful little ceramics over here. But an interesting thing to keep in mind is that these grey urns have the possibility of dropping some nice loot. You can also hear in the background a collection of other mobs. These barrels don't contain, some of these barrels will contain some loot, some of them won't. It's just a bit of luck on that one. But the design of the actual haunted house itself is really well done for a generated build. Like, this is really well done. Moving inside of the building itself, this is a building that's also a bit of a maze. You're going to be going through very many doors, and one of the things you want to be figuring out is how to get access to the basement. Here we found our way to the butcher room, where people have been absolutely murdered beforehand. This is where we want to go. Anyway, now we've made it downstairs, we are now in the basement of the house. We're just going to break that, we don't care. As you can see down here, you've got a beautiful collection of interesting loot, but you've also got the new mob. You've got an acolyte. These guys will spawn in amongst different graveyards inside of haunted houses and a little bit of everywhere. They are definitely going to be a bit of an annoyance to deal with, and they kind of hate villagers too. It's kind of a new type of villager that gets introduced with this mod. You also have a really cool new creeper style that you will also find, bony creepers. Like, it's really highly detailed of a mod that you can find some really interesting loot in amongst. There are also a collection of different graveyards you can also find throughout the world. A small one, a medium one, and a large one. We're going to be taking a look on the large one in this world, mainly because it just takes a lot of time to run through all of the different variations of it, because there's also a few different changes as well. As you can see over here, this is a large graveyard. It's a pretty big place. It's like a nice big open area that's just got a lot of crypts around it. And one interesting thing is, if you want to rob the dead, they'll have some loot in it. Some of them won't have amazing stuff. Some of it might be useful to you, but you have the ability to rob the dead of their looting of the stuff that are sitting inside these chests. And as I said, a collection of different things will be able to spawn inside of these. And then you've also got your bigger crypts, which might also contain some better loot. But as I said, you got your crypts here, which, as I said, you can just go through them and do some grave digging and find some loot for you to yoink. Then you've got this one over here, which is just, I'm assuming, just more coffin. That has a bit of a piston mechanism here that allows you to go down into a different space. Coming down this way, we've got another one of these little underground basement things. This one's covered more in a collection of different cobwebs and darkness. And it's just a nice, very detailed collection of stuff to look through. There's a few urns down here which can contain some pretty decent loot, some gunpowder, wither roses, gold. Like, there's a lot of different things you can find down here. You got urns that can come with some diamond gears. It's just like a really just cool location to find in your vanilla world. Going back up to the surface and using another location command, we can find ourselves to something like a memorial tree. Now this isn't exactly that big of a thing, a big of a build. you just find these little like big trees you can find amongst the world, and these will actually contain a wither skeleton for you to collect, meaning that it would be possible to collect all the resources you need to spawn a wither without heading into the nether, because soul sand can be found inside of the graveyards, and you can find wither skulls scattered around these memorial trees. You might find some interesting little decorative pieces such as this magic mushroom, which doesn't seem to really have anything of note over here at all. It's just a nice little detailed thing you can find throughout your world. There's also a different variation of the graveyards for deserts that just kind of make more of it fit the vibe of a desert based location. Again, you can find sarcophaguses instead of coffins here that can contain some loot for you, but not all of them will contain any form of grave to rob, unfortunately for you. You can also find some more birch based coffins down here as well, some urns. As I said, like, most of these aren't exactly going to give you anything of use, but it's like a nice little area that you can find some stuff in. You've got a bigger yellow urn here which has some wither roses, some yellow candles, and some glazed terracotta. And then you can find yourself a lodestone over here, as well as a pretty decent collection of stuff over here in these coffers. We're doing a lot of grave robbing this video. And basically this becomes consistent throughout the collection of other things. You've also got a small mountain grave that you can also find across the world, as well as we can come over to this location over here and be completely inside of the ground. Go back up to the top over here. As you can see here, this isn't exactly a graveyard, this is just a single grave out in the mountains. And going in here, we can find some sarcophaguses, not really with too much interesting loot, but you can find some, often some kind of mediocrely decent stuff, maybe if you're lucky. But the next big thing, and the last massive structure of this world, is a crypt. Going over to one, this is a big underground base structure. If I turn my shaders off here, we can see better. This is a massive underground base structure that honestly will be a bit of a pain to explore, mainly because there's a collection of different mob spawners and other things along those lines around here. But if you can make your way down here, there is some pretty interesting stuff to go. As I said, you have a collection of different mobs around here. You got corrupted pillagers, which they aren't going to act like normal pillagers. There's a collection of different sarcophaguses, coffins, different loots. You've also got raves in here too. And basically this is like the be all and end all of this mod. This is going to be the big thing that you're going to want to find in your world. It will take a lot of time and effort and a lot of resources and possibly a lot of depth to raid through, mainly because of all the different types of mobs that you'll find down here, but you can find a lot of interesting loot down here as well. Moving further into it, you've got this little area here with a lot of amethysts and just collection of urns and stuff along those lines. The main central room, which has a beautiful staircase. Like, overall, this structure is quite beautiful. Again, as with all the other generated structures in this mod, it's honestly quite beautiful what these look like. But this one will be a pain. See here, bunch of corrupt vindicators, pillagers, that will pretty sure do as much annoyance as all the other type of pillagers would typically do, just being corrupt and all. But honestly, this is just like a nice fun structure to just find in the world. Overall, the Graveyard mod just adds an amazing new structure that you can find throughout your world. A collection of different types of graves, haunted houses, and so many other cool little locations to find throughout your world, giving you access to a collection of new loot, as well as some new mobs that might inconvenience you throughout the world. But if you did enjoy this video, check out the Epic Fight mod in the end screen up above my hand here. But until next time, guys, bye bye!